Greetings, dear people of God and beloved friends beyond. Greetings in the new year. Welcome to this first reflection of 2025. I've missed you and offer you my love. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. A war zone, rubble, ashes, incineration, chaos, evacuations, incalculable loss. Not long ago, this was Gaza. This was Ukraine. Now, LA has been added to the apocalyptic settings around the globe that are destroying lives, lands, and communities, crushing spirits. Echoing the pandemic, everywhere in California, people have wildfire stories to tell about family members, friends of friends, colleagues who've not just been affected, but who have lost everything. It is as if the lifeless bodies of lost loved ones from COVID have become the charred remains of lost homes. The wildflowers which continue to rage care nothing about borders, districts, or cultural distinctions. They leave utter devastation everywhere in their wake. At this moment, at least 24 lives have been lost, and there will be more. And an area larger than 2 Manhattan islands has been consumed by flames. Over 10,000 homes, businesses, and even places of worship have been reduced to ashes. Entire communities have been uprooted, and countless lives forever changed. In moments like these, our hearts ache with grief. We mourn for the lives lost, the homes destroyed, the communities shattered, compounding the foreboding effects of the recent election, the turmoil around the world, and the undeniable reality of climate-caused chaos. As our incoming president seeks to politicize this disaster, the absence of genuine words of compassion and care has felt like an additional wound. And we are numbed by the onslaught of distorted images and dangerous accusations. As people of faith, as people who seek to follow a way of love, which many proclaim was and is the way of Jesus, how do we respond? For a few moments, I want to offer you 3 responses for reflection together: lament, listening, and love in action. First, lament. The Bible gives us a language for moments like this. It teaches us the sacred act of lament. Stay with me here. If images of weeping and the gnashing of teeth are being conjured up, let's not dismiss lament as ancient histrionics or inappropriate emotionalism. After all, Episcopalians are called the frozen, chosen for a reason. No, lament is the cry of the brokenhearted, the prayer of those who cannot see a way forward, but still reach out to God. In fact, our most powerful and poignant psalms are filled with laments, raw, unfiltered expressions of pain and anger and sorrow. They remind us that God does not turn away from our grief. Instead, God meets us in it. Love meets us in it, holding us when the weight of the world feels unbearable. What the Psalms of Lament allow us to do is to look sadness squarely in the eye. Barbara Brown Taylor, in her book Learning to Walk in the Dark, says, "What if I could learn to trust my feelings instead of asking to be delivered from them?" Those who seek to follow a way of love, including those of us who seek to follow the way of Jesus, are called to let our hearts break open for those who are suffering, to weep with those who weep, to stand in solidarity with those whose lives have been upended, to be present with them, to show up for them, simply to listen to them, or perhaps more accurately, to listen with them. I want to tell you a story, a children's story, to capture what I mean. It's about a little child named Taylor who has built something out of blocks. Taylor is very proud of it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the blocks are knocked over and come crashing down. A chicken notices and tries to talk to Taylor, but Taylor doesn't feel like talking, so the chicken leaves. Next comes a bear who suggests shouting, but Taylor doesn't want to do that either. One by one, different animals come by, each giving Taylor a different suggestion as to how to fix everything. But Taylor doesn't respond. Finally, a rabbit comes by and simply sits with Taylor. Doesn't say a word, just sits. A moment passes and Taylor starts talking while the rabbit listens. Then Taylor shouts. Taylor remembers, tries to hide, tries to throw it all away, tries to ruin things for someone else, etc. Do you see? Taylor is lamenting while the rabbit listens with Taylor. The rabbit never leaves. Like God, the rabbit meets Taylor in the grief, staying and holding Taylor when the weight of it all feels unbearable. Then Taylor decides to rebuild something amazing. So lamenting and listening, but they are not the end of the story. Lamenting and listening are a way of moving through the grief and the loss, of making space for hope to emerge. When we lament, we acknowledge that depth of pain, but we also affirm our belief that this pain does not have the final word. We cry out to God, trusting that God hears and responds, and we commit ourselves to action, to love in action, to rebuilding, to bringing comfort to the hurting, advocating for justice, working toward a world, an amazing world, where such tragedies are never forgotten and never repeated. Witness what is rising already from the rubble in so many parts of LA. Stories of compassion, community, courage, and kindness. Love in action. An army of angels. My brother and sister-in-law lost their Palisades house. My brother was able to return, and he said that standing in front of what had been his home, reduced now to ash, made him feel like he was standing in front of the body of our beloved grandmother, of a loved one. There was no life, no spirit there anymore, only a shell. They'd been hosting many people affected by the fires at their home in Santa Barbara, and now, after days of tears, numbness, shock, of lament, they are all beginning to share stories of backyard parties, hilarious ones, and different generations of musicians jamming into the living room and jamming into the wee hours. Poignant stories. It's been like an ongoing memorial service where memories come alive. The person herself is not restored to life, but her spirit lives on, still loving those she has left behind. From one of the people whose home was lost, we heard this advice to those who yearn to help. Simply tell us you are grateful we are safe. You are there for them, whatever we need. And let them tell you their story. Let us tell you our story when they're ready. The most wonderful thing someone did for me, something I'll never forget, is to bring me a cup of tea and sit with me quietly. As the fires rage on, let us hold the people of LA in our hearts and our prayers, Let us lament with them, sitting with them, standing with them in their pain and loss, and let us remember that even in the ashes, through the ashes, love is present. Love brings light and care and the possibility of amazing renewal. Am I crazy to imagine distributing Thistle Farms candles with flames of hope? Perhaps to places of worship, both destroyed and standing, lighting up the darkness with love in action for the healing work ahead. Love you.